guys, welcome. I'm Brittany,
I'm Maria.
and this is the Be More podcast.
Did you forget for a second what your
Oh yeah,
line
my
was?
brain short circuited, but I caught it. Did you caught it? I was
Yeah,
like,
that's why I started laughing.
off here. That's all right.
Yeah,
It happened.
welcome back, or as I like to call it, when Maria eats fruit, her weekly dose of fruit. Because my dad came over Friday and just was like, "Here's all the fruit." So he gave me grapes and clementines. So there's that.
Hysterical, because
Uh-huh.
I just went to the market yesterday, and my husband's not feeling well, and one
Mm.
of his major requests was oranges. So I have been eating oranges. He's been eating oranges, and I also bought a bag of grapes because they just looked delicious.
These are really good. My dad
Are
picked
they?
them
They
well.
look like the same ones that we have. They're like, for anybody who doesn't see Maria's grapes, they're like
Oh yeah.
unusually large, but they're really crispy on the outside.
Yes, yes, that's
Just
exactly what I
amazing
have.
grape.
Yeah, large green ones, not the like purple red ones or
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't like those. They have to be like sour. So this is everyone's daily reminder or weekly reminder to make sure you're getting in some form of vitamin C in your
Something.
body. Eat some
Yeah.
fruit. Tis
Hmm.
the season though where I definitely start to crave.
Fruit.
Yeah,
Right? I don't really eat fruit during the winter.
nope.
It's
And
the
it's not as
summer, spring
if you
time.
think about the accessibility, I mean, we live in a really not seasonal culture necessarily. There's minor things that are seasonal, but if you think about when fruit is in season, it's the spring and the summer, right? So it makes sense that your body sees sunlight, your body wants, I have seen myself definitely wanting fresh food, like a lot
Hmm.
of colorful, fresh food, which is a really good sign for like that the body is like, hey, we're ready for this. But it's also really good for your body to, get in
To
all of
say
those
your body's just like, please
vitamins
give me
and
something.
minerals. Yeah, after a really not fun winter. So
Hmm.
it's everybody's reminder to get in those fruits and veggies in whatever way that you can have them. And
Even
yay,
if it's frozen.
fruit. Yes, even if it is frozen. Because they do still, if you're getting them when they're frozen at the right time, they still have all of their nutrients in
Nutrients.
them. So
That's what I
that
buy because
counts.
I can't be left because I live alone, obviously. I can't be left with like a whole like actual vegetable pile in my
Oh,
fridge
it's
because it
hard.
just goes bad.
Yeah,
So I just buy frozen.
it's definitely difficult. And you sometimes you like I'll buy a big bag of something and I run out of things to do with it, and then or
Or you
I
just get tired of eating it.
yep,
Yeah.
and it's a lot. It's funny. I really wish
Hmm.
I wish we lived in the days where it was normal to go to like the market or the farm almost every day as a part of your lifestyle to get what you needed to. But it's
Hmm.
just I don't I don't have the desire to do that every day.
Every day.
It's not even not having the desire. It's just making the space for it
Hmm.
to not feel like it I wish we lived in a world where that type of lifestyle was the norm and shopping for fresh produce and stuff every day was
Hmm. Was the norm or is the norm?
yeah was the
Yeah.
norm and like was understood as you need to do this instead of because so many of the even when it comes like the markets are great. I do the best that I can now to not buy. This is not what we intended talking about today, guys, but
No.
we'll talk about it anyway because we started. Um, I do the most that I can now to not buy produce from large retailers, even grocery retailers, because they're trying to do a lot better with working with local farms and things like that. But so much of the time, those like the produce has to go through such a process and it takes weeks for it to get onto like the shelves for you to have access to it. And when it comes to fresh vegetables and fruits, within a couple of days, they've lost so much of their nutrition values.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't make sense. And it's also really annoying because the larger grocers play as a middleman, which jacks up the price for you to get access to those fruits and vegetables. And if you're somebody who lives in it's ironic that we call New Jersey the Garden State, and a lot of people don't agree or understand with how New Jersey is the Garden State because they come in through the airports and certain areas of New Jersey are utterly disgusting and filled with factories. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we do have access to a lot of small and even bigger farms in New Jersey, so it doesn't make sense. The farmers
Hmm.
markets are the greatest things ever because they're coming from local places. You don't have extra jacked up prices, and they're getting there within a couple of days. So
Hmm.
local
Shop local.
Market. But that's my little side caveat.
That was Brittany's 2 cents. Not what we're supposed to talk about.
We should get a little change sound, like a little change sound.
Like a jingle?
When one of us, like the sound of like dropping pennies into like a piggy bank or something. So that when one of us goes on a side segue about, and then we could be like, and that was my 2 cents.
And a jingle. Or I'll just get like coins. I'll get like my piggy bank here and just like jingle it.
We'll shake it. That'll be fun. Yeah. So yeah, so if you listen to our last episode, we talked about a bunch of things in our last episode, but we ended with starting to talk about what it means to change our habits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something, and specifically we talked about if you
try going to the gym.
Yeah, if you want to go to the gym and you want to start building a habit to go to the gym, and one of the most successful people who was able to lose over 100 pounds, that was a client of the author James Clear, who wrote the book on Atomic Habits. And also, I don't remember the rest of his like resume or CV stuff, but he works a lot in helping people to understand the journey for themselves and realizing that building habits isn't about the end result. It's about the fact that you have to build habits the rest of your life. Like there's no stopping once you work on them. You finally get to the point where you don't have to think about it anymore. You just have this habit. You always are working on building and supporting and strengthening that habit. So, if you listened to our last episode, you might be wondering, what did that guy do to lose 100 pounds? And I told Maria, do you remember what I told you? Because I told Maria after the episode.
Vaguely. It was like, well, it was like more of an example than anything that I remember. Some guy for weeks would just like, this is again pertaining to the gym example.
This is this guy, the guy who's really successful at losing 100 pounds.
He just literally got in his car and drove to the gym, and that was like for weeks or something, right?
Yeah.
And then that was like him building the habit of literally going to the gym. And then once he was comfortable with that, he actually went in to the gym.
Yeah, and started doing some action. So I like, this is just like a quick progression, but for the first couple of weeks, like you said, he would just drive to the gym, the 20 minutes that he had to drive, touch the handle on the door, and then get back in his car and drive home. And then after that, he started to slowly progress on with like, okay, now I'm going to go in the gym. Now I'm going to go in the gym and I'm going to get dressed. And then I'm going to go in the gym and I'm going to get dressed and I'm going to go lift these weights for 5 minutes. And then he slowly started to, and this is scaffolding, like starting to layer and add on and add on and add on. And when I first started listening to this idea, I swear, like my brain exploded, because what I struggle with personally when I have to build a habit for myself is I think about it as a whole, right? I think about, to continue with this example, going to the gym means I have to go to the gym and do all of these things, like all of the expectations and all of the steps I have to take. I consider it all as one thing.
Like I have to do like 25 minutes of strength training and 25 of like cardio.
I need to go to the gym and I need to be there for an hour and it needs to be worth it, and I need to do, all of these things. And I'm the same way. This might actually circle back to why I don't go to the grocery store every day or the farmer's market every day, because I'm the kind of person who likes to smush activities together as much as possible and do as much as I possibly can, one intention, so that, it's out of the way and it's done.
Yeah.
And which is normal for people with to-do lists, right? So if you're a to-do list person, listen to the rest of this episode because it's going to crazy change your brain. So I thought to myself, while I was listening to this idea, it makes so much sense, because when you're going to the gym is a huge umbrella. And at the very, 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 very base, the handle that you have to hold on to is the fact that you literally have to just show up there.
Correct.
Like
absolutely
show up there.
That's literally like more than half the battle.
Right. It's literally showing up, right? Because you have to motivate yourself to start it. And once you start, it's just, and I use this analogy for a lot of things, it's just like when you're trying to pave a new path for water to flow. If you don't, the hardest thing is starting to dig that initial path. But once the water can, start to make its way through, it's easier. but you have to overcome that major first step, just like building the foundation of a house. It's one of the most difficult things and tedious things to do. But once the foundation is set, you have places to build off of a lot of the rest of it. So that's what this man did. And because he built the habit of just showing up, and not to mention the fact that he just showed up, but showing up successfully, like showing up and being able to tell himself, I did this. And then like build his confidence in that way helped him to be able to build up and slowly start to progress on to actually doing the workouts, because going to the gym, there's so much that comes before you actually doing the workouts or doing the exercises.
Mm-hmm.
And what really blew my mind about this was that, and James Clear goes on to talk about this more, and it's funny because I actually, after that, listened to an interview with the football player Emmanuel Acha. We had talked about him before, but he wrote their book, and he talks about how goals are stupid. And the reason why, and it relates to this idea with our habits, is that we focus so much on the end goal that we forget all of the stuff that really has to be solid.
Yeah, beforehand.
To get there, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting when you look at, we talk about the development of our bodies and like you have to walk before you run, but that even isn't enough information. Walking, the process of getting to walking is such a detailed and comprehensive and complex thing. And we talk about it like it's so easy. And we live in a world now where we encourage the idea of changing habits or reaching goals like it's so, like you flip a switch and all of a sudden you're like, hey, let's go. But your brain hates that shit. Your brain doesn't like that. And I started to realize that I was putting so much pressure on my brain and on myself in building habits and trying to just be like, okay, well, I've been doing it this way forever, and now I'm just gonna like detour and go this way and just be able to go in a straight line. And that's not the way that anything works. So my intention, and this is my suggestion to anybody listening to this, if you're trying to build a habit, first and foremost, you should totally read this book, Atomic Habits. I have not even read it yet. I just listened to this 2-part interview with the author.
Right.
My mind was blown. So we'll talk about it more after I actually read it. But just from this, my advice to you and my advice that I've taken for myself is to just show up in the direction, or like maybe if to go off the car analogy, right? Maybe don't expect to take the sharp turn and start going, but just start to turn the wheel and show up in the direction of where you want to head. And remember that it's about what you're doing on the way there and not about your end goal. And that's why my whole mentality is not even about where I have to get anymore in like life, period. It's about the intentions that I want to have and the person that I want to become along the way.
Yeah, because like again, the gym example is like everyone's like
everyone
example,
can relate
right?
to that because everybody's like, fuck you, I don't want to have to do this. Like,
or not even just the gym,
benefits, and we don't want to do it.
But like exercising, right? Like I want to exercise, and the underlying like you want to exercise is either to lose weight or build muscle or whatever.
Just feel good in your body.
Correct, right? So that is so vague. It's like it's such a vague goal. Like, yeah, you can like on a scale, yes, you can see the weight drop if you want, if that's one of your goals, right?
Nothing about your overall health.
Correct, right? So like even if it is like, even if say someone is like, I want to lose X amount of pounds, so because that's what I felt like the best in, right? Like okay, fine. But then the steps before that are so like people in their mind are just like, okay, I have to go to the gym 3 times a week, I have to do cardio 3 times a week, I have to walk every day. Like that is daunting, and your brain cannot comprehend all that at once.
Just a minor caveat, all of those things are the wrong way to be able to approach that. As somebody who like spends so much time in this area and working with people and guiding people, that's another part of the problem, right? And that brings us back to the way that our society has supported this concept of striving for goals and the bullshit, fantastical, you either win or you're a loser idea of what it takes to get there. It's all been completely blown up by capitalism and marketing. And we're going to feed you whatever we can so that we can make money off of you in this process, and tell you that you're wrong if you're doing it this way and you're right only if you're doing it this way and if you look this way. And the fitness world is a perfect example. It's a nauseating, disgusting example of this. Which, oddly enough, I was just scrolling, and Instagram, social media is the worst for this, you guys. And it takes me, I have to sometimes really pull myself out of it, but thankfully I follow some funny things. And one of the things that I saw yesterday, there's this, I don't know, I did not do enough research on this, but apparently there's this doctor who is like the carnivore MD or some, which in my mind, I'm already like, no. And there was another person that I follow who's into like physiology, and he had first put this guy on because this guy made a comment about how tea is stupid and like tea is killing people and like green tea is killing people. And this guy comes on, comes on and is like, so no, like, and here's this research and here's this research. And you know me, that's me, right? Like that's literally what I do. And here's this research and like how it lowers your cholesterol and helps with all of like your inflammation, all just endless things. And he's like, you know what's oh no, the carnivore guy said that tea is bullshit. So this guy put all of this information out and was like, you want to know who's bullshit? This guy. And that, I'm so happy that I myself am also trying to be like a whistleblower on Instagram to the extent of the way that I work in the dance world. But I'm very happy that people are really starting to step forward and blow the whistle on people who really are full of shit or are just sharing information that just has no standing. It's great if you want to share your opinion. You're allowed to share your opinion, but sharing your opinion as fact or sharing your opinion to incite fear or sharing your opinion to make people feel badly about themselves are all the ways that you're also allowed to share information on social media. And it's all ways that the marketing world and capitalism is allowed to share information, and even worse off, or they're able to promote products or environments or experiences through the use of that. So I just want everyone to be really aware of that happening.
Because it's like influencer culture, right? It's like,
yeah,
you get a few thousand followers, people start, you see the comments like, you're so like, positive things that, with their advice. And then people forget the science behind it. It's more like social than like actual science.
Exactly. And social standing, community, and like word of mouth is always going to be more powerful than just science, right? Science in and of itself and in its own standing, in its own right, is extremely powerful. But people's sharing of words and thoughts and stories and opinions is the reason why, humans exist and language exists.
Of course.
So one of my personal goals as a human being is, in any realm that I work in, is to help make all of the understanding that's available to for us in science available to people right? Like that, but like bridge that gap, whether it's, and I do that in my work in dance, I do that in my work in the wellness and like health industry, because I feel like there's this huge separation. And when you have that huge separation, that means that, all of this bullshit in business, and well, it is, because even people who are influencers are doing it for money, right? So it is business. All of the bullshit can fill that space because people aren't educated to know better, or aren't, empowered in having the understanding. And I've been in a place personally, it's really unfortunate that even with striving for goals and lifestyle, I've felt myself be influenced by all of that I see, to the point where it makes you question yourself. It makes you like, it affects your confidence. But then when I started to really hone in on all of these concepts that we're talking about, this truth, I was like, oh shit, Brittany, you're letting yourself fall into the rabbit hole. And now I can, I have little boundary. I have like little bouncer bunny rabbits standing there and be like, don't do this.
Because you have to check yourself, especially social media.
You do.
You just have to check yourself.
It's so easy and so scary to fall into it.
Right. And it's not like we're not knocking off all influencers because there are like they do back up their stuff. Like
Yeah.
many of them do, but it's the ones that are just like, this worked for me. It
Yeah.
should work for you too. Like those like
That's
don't take
not,
that at face value.
there's not a, I can't drive this home more, but
Mhm.
what my body,
What?
Maria and I might have the same number of bones, and we might not. That's also possible.
That's also
We might
possible.
both be classified as human beings. We might have similar organs,
Hmm.
but the way that all of her stuff functions and responds to the world and her experiences is totally different than the way that all of mine does. And there's not, unless you even, I mean, I was gonna say unless you have a twin, but even twins
Even them, I think,
are
right?
different.
Yeah.
Huh?
Even
Yeah,
them.
can be vastly different. So we just need to just stop.
Stop. Just
I'm
stop.
rethinking this as I'm saying it. We need to first create the situations where that is our, we celebrate and make space for that individualism. But
Hmm.
people are only craving all of that as a form of connection because they don't have enough
Any
healthy forms of
I'll
connection.
say anything else, probably.
Right. So we need, in order to stop doing this, we need to make sure that we are making enough space for people to understand themselves as individuals, celebrate themselves as individuals, and do what they need as individuals. That's first. But also
You're
create an,
asking too much of the
I know,
humankind.
this is my hope for the future. I'm asking so much right now. I know it's not possible right this second, but and we also need to make sure that we're creating communities that allow people to find connection in other ways so that they're not exploiting themselves to be able to find that sense of connection. It's a lot to ask, and unfortunately we don't live in a world where we've had systems that have been developed to do that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I remember how my my social media, my Instagram, my personal Instagram used to be about like, and even the blog that I started that I took a pause on,
Yeah.
and my whole thought process around my mental state was like being positive,
Hmm.
right? Trying to be
Yes.
positive.
Yeah.
And what I've come to realize is that by doing that to myself and trying to build habits around positivity, when not good shit happens, I'm
Hmm.
not prepared for it.
Okay. Okay.
Because I was so focused on the positive and so focused, and I would judge myself when I reacted badly, or I would judge myself when something bad happened, or like I set so much precedence on like naming things positive and naming things good, that anything that I didn't label as that would completely dismantle me, because
Right.
I didn't
You aren't prepared.
I was trying to avoid it, right? Not even the being,
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid it. And so building those positive habits and naming them positive habits meant that anything that wasn't meeting that standard or helping me get to whatever I felt like was a positive place, I didn't have space or time for, or I didn't want to make space or time for. The reality of life is that that's not possible, right? It's not, you can't, like the whole yin and yang concept, you cannot have only whatever is deemed good. And then I started to dive deeper into that, and I started to realize that naming things good or bad, naming things positive or negative, outside of talking about like friggin' electrons, is
Hmm.
completely subjective.
Right.
There is no thing, even when it comes to food and experiences, there's literally nothing created as good or bad. It is our own perspective on it. And
Hmm.
by creating the separation of positive and negative, I was making that space for myself to be in more struggle.
I mean, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. That makes sense.
So I've started to realize that my habit of focusing on the end goal of being like, Brittany, you're only gonna do things that are good for you. You're
Hmm.
not gonna deal with anything that's not that's negative. Putting myself in that place, days that, for example, days that I didn't move my body, days that I didn't like, take my Spanish lessons, days that I didn't do anything that I deemed as good,
Hmm.
would set me back.
Yeah.
And then I would take myself away from being to being able to have the full spectrum of experiences and take away my ability to actually have practice in dealing with the things that maybe didn't feel so good. Where you learn a lot about yourself in life, right? It's not, you don't learn shit in the good stuff. You've learned shit in the hard, gross, difficult stuff.
Uh-huh.
My entire perspective has now shifted to the fact that my focus is not on the end goal of always being positive. My focus is not on the end goal of anything regarding my life. Now, my focus is on the actions of what I have to do to become the person who can live the life that I want to live. Because the end intention in saying I want to be empowered to positive, which used to be my handle on social and what my blog was originally about, was about me believing that the best version of myself and my best life was me being a positive person, right? And like seeing this one who, like, I never have to deal with hard shit. I know how to like build these good habits so I can protect myself and have some kind of control from it. That's a fantasy. What am I chasing after? Like, what am I chasing after? No,
perpetual happiness is what you're chasing after, which is not possible.
It doesn't exist. And it's funny because my realistic, logical, analytic brain is like, what the fuck are you doing? But my spiritual and hopeful self was like, we can find it. And then I started to dive into the spiritual things that were really not pretty and how that's what you really need more of in your life on the journey to becoming. And I realized my best version of myself and my best life is going to require a lot more of the difficult shit because how I'm a person who always wants to be learning stuff, right? I always want to be in places where I'm growing, and I want to be able to appreciate the good shit and also be able to handle the not good shit. So it's not about the end goal. It's about whatever comes at me, my process in becoming the best version of myself. And that doesn't have anything to do with positive and negative.
No, agreed. Because like, isn't there a saying that like, or not a saying, but like how like optimism or like pessimism, like both ends of the spectrum are just like bad. Like,
yeah,
what people deem optimism as like better than pessimism or whatever, but I deem like neutral indifference as better.
You can still be,
in some instances you can be one, and some instances you can be other.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like optimism and pessimism, I feel like it's you either have hope and you have faith in something or you don't. That's what I feel like those really are, if that makes sense.
And not like positive, negative, like thinking about the positive all the time and the negative all the time.
Because it's just so, it really is just so toxic. Like, I wish I would have, you don't know what you don't know, and it took me my journey of going through it, and I was so hard on myself when I would be like a negative Nancy about stuff. But that's like life is both of those things. I'm a sarcastic and jaded person, and I'm also a person who's hopeful and has belief in stuff. And that paradox is something that I need to celebrate and not try to say, well, I can't be the person who makes sarcastic, jaded comments and curses a lot if I'm gonna be the positive person that I want to be. Like, fuck that. No, I'm not doing that anymore.
Because what is so
bad for me?
I would say like mentally,
it was so bad for me.
Exactly, mentally, you're just fighting with yourself about what? Like, it's
about
not that
yourself,
serious.
About the fact that you're not good enough. You're not worthy of having the life that you want to be able to have if you do these things too. If anybody else is relating to this roller coaster that I've been experiencing, and it took me 29 years of my life to get to this place, and I still have a lot, and I'm still going to be building the habits for the rest of my life of making sure that I'm keeping that balance of figuring out like the focus on the internal me and not giving a crap about whatever else is going on. And I feel badly for our generation and the upcoming generations, because so much of the way that the world is set right now is so focused on the end result of you have to reach your goal, and if you don't reach your goal, you're a loser. And here's all the failure that comes with you not reaching your goal, and here's the way everyone's going to look at you if you don't reach your goal, and this is how you're going to feel about yourself if you don't reach your goal, and here's all the people who are going to show you the fact that they've reached their goals, but we're not going to show you the real shitty situations that they've had to go through.
Which is why social media is so toxic that way too, because it's like, I reached my goal, but like you don't know the struggle.
And we're not talking about all of it, and they're growing up with this.
It's like the instant gratification thing where it's like,
Yeah.
I have a goal, I need it by next week.
Yeah.
And even next week sometimes is too much.
So sorry, I just had a little moment of like my tea coming back at me for a second. But maybe the carnivore MD was right. Just kidding. But like oy vey. So when it comes to habits, it's not a finite thing. It's a constant process that we need to work towards. And my perspective on the way that I'm approaching it is just start showing up. Just start creating a situation where you can make it easy for you to show up and stick to just showing up. Dude, that was us on this process, right?
Oh, yeah. It's just showing up constantly.
Right. Our goal was to do it, and we've been building the habit of just showing up, but we had to first start off with the first day where we were like, all right, I'm pressing record.
Yeah, we're doing this. Like, okay, record, start, and
we're still working on the habit because there are days when it doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way we're doing it. It's been so forgiving, and it's been so human to be able to approach it this way.
Because the other way was toxic. Like, let's be real here, right?
And
just like going on habits like to-do lists, like your morning routine, like you noted in the last week, like it was just a checklist. It was not a habit.
It was just a to-do list. It was just let's get this little bit of endorphins running and make myself feel better about the fact that I've accomplished something.
It's a chore.
I've accomplished something.
As opposed to like doing it for the sake of your well-being.
And because I'm in the place to it, right? Like there might be a day where I wake up and I'm not feeling well, right? Or there might be a day where I wake up and I have to do something on my schedule that's some outside force that, needs my attention, whatever. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds super simple, but there were days when I didn't make it okay for myself. Right? And that's so sad. And I know that I'm not the only person who struggles with this, and I'm talking about it, and I'm bringing all of us up on this episode today because the stupid mirage of trying to be effortlessly perfect is excruciatingly painful. And it's something that I didn't even realize that I was trying to do. I didn't realize I was doing it. I was just doing it because I was being programmed to do it by so many factors that were impeding on me. And if anybody else notices or sees themselves in any way, shape, or form in what I've shared today and can start on their path to just letting themselves be their friggin' selves and figure their shit out as they're going, I like that. I want that. I want to be able to help somebody else by sharing about it. So that's why I wanted to dive into all of it today.
When you told me off air last week, that whole like example, like it's nice out. So like I'm trying to walk more, like, trying to whatever. Same thing. If I got out, great. Like if I walked, great. My goal is like 45 minutes just because like that is where I feel the most like at peak. Nothing like scientific or anything. It was just like, all right, 45 minutes is like a good, whatever. Other days I'm like, all right, I just got my shoes on. Fuck that. All right, I got on a walk. Like I walked.
I picked my legs up to put my shoes on.
And I was like, fuck this. Or if even it was like 5 minutes, just like a round, like that's fine.
Cool.
So like it helps in that sense because your mentality changes, as in like it's not daunting. It's like if you do it, great. If you want to keep walking, great. If not, you're great. Like you did it. You even thought about it. So that's all.
Those moments are meant for you to personally celebrate, and you don't have to invite. That's another thing that I'm thinking about too. You don't have to invite anybody else into that.
No one needs this.
It's the same idea of, and I see this so much in the dance world,
Hmm.
of you don't need to get a participation award for, and this isn't anything in the world at all, period. You don't need a participation award. You don't need somebody to give you a piece of plastic for participating. What you need to do in those moments is leave that setting, have a conversation with yourself, and reward yourself in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because like if you're
For
doing it for
showing the
someone
fuck up.
else, yeah, if you're doing it for someone else, why? No, well, number one,
Right.
why? Number two,
Really, though, that's the question that has to be asked.
and number two, what you're doing shouldn't affect anyone else. Number two, and then
Yeah.
who like that's why I'm off social media for the most part. I like log on to Instagram maybe 5 minutes a day. I give myself, and like that's it because like I could not care less. I don't
Yeah.
like. I could not like. Lovely that you posted a picture. Lovely that you posted a story. I also post stories when I go on for 5 minutes and like call it a day. But like, it's so toxic because it's only like,
Highlight reels.
yeah, you can also tell sometimes how fake it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why I personally have been struggling because I've been,
Mm-hmm.
like I shared, I dove into all with my personal stuff, with the stuff that I'm doing for business and the fact that I have a business, right? Like I need to,
Oh, that's
that's
branding.
where my people are, right?
That's
But
marketing.
I'm showing up in a very different way that it's not like I'm going to be nice and pretty and give you what I think
Mm-hmm.
you want to see. We're going to do some rethinking here that's going to make people
Yeah.
comfortable. And I finally figured out how to do that after over a year of just first showing up to really drive that
Yeah.
message home. But yeah, and that's another thing that I've started to, I'm having a lot of these little like crossing epiphany moments in the last
Yeah.
weeks and letting all of this stuff into my head. But it's interesting, especially with younger generations. They're showing all it takes to have people hear you or see you is to sign up for a free social media account, right? So
Which half the time I'm like, wow, I can't believe this site is free.
right. Well, I mean, it's not because
Well, yeah, yeah.
they're
You know.
selling and for anybody who doesn't know, they're selling your information and they're throwing
Yes.
ads at you through algorithms. And if you need to know more about how that works, look at Facebook because Facebook's business plan that I recently have discovered is absolutely atrocious when it comes to all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't understand the price we're paying, which is most things in life. But when it comes to young people, having that simple instant gratification of my voice is heard and I'm being seen and I'm getting a participation award, quote unquote, when people like my stuff or engage with my stuff, they walk out into the world and think, I showed up. Someone should be giving me something for that.
That's the other point that I forgot to add. Like, I did this, someone show me something back so
Yeah.
that someone can see me doing it.
Someone validate the fact that I was here,
Which again, that goes to the why, right? Like, why are you doing this for someone else
which is
and
what
not
makes me
yourself?
nervous about. I think that a lot of people in the future generations have caught on to this, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
they're trying to exploit that screwed up system to make money and pay themselves, which I mean, if you're doing that, good for you. Or they're completely stepping away from it, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Or creating better environments, which is also good. But there are enough people who are also on the flip side of that are getting caught up in all of it because we don't even see it coming sometimes. It's showing up is not about anybody else. Showing up is the one thing that gets to be about you and you celebrating yourself and you building your own confidence and you self validating. Anything that comes after that, anything that you put out in the world, also, I'm learning this too, still shouldn't necessarily be about you. It should be about your why and your intent in what you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It doesn't have to always be about what you're getting back in terms of it's an award, I'm getting celebrated, I'm getting
Just validation.
some form of validation. And it's the same thing with your exercise, guys. If your intentions for going to the gym is because you want somebody to compliment the way that you look,
That's an unpacking that you have to do somewhere.
you're not going to go for a long time, and then you're going to make yourself, you're going to, and this
You're
is
making yourself you're gonna
this
make
is
yourself
from
sick.
personal experience and from what I've worked on when I've worked with clients around this area, you're going to put yourself in the situation that I was in about my positive habits, where the longer it takes to get you there or the further away you get from that goal, you're going to be harder on yourself. You're going to not want to look at yourself in the mirror and you're going to put yourself in a toxic place with your body.
100%.
Sucks and is sad and is excruciatingly painful also.
Hmm.
So those are the moments when it comes to our habits, when it comes to the way that we live our lives, those are the moments when we need to look at ourselves and stop looking at everybody else. There's this really funny quote that I heard that was like, don't put your fear on me.
Yeah, don't. Did you?
Whoa, wow, oh, this is crazy because that's
Because
how
you're
I live.
literally projecting.
Yeah, exactly. That is the definition of projecting
You're
from
projecting.
the opposing perspective. But that was how I lived I mean, there are a lot of ways that I didn't live my life like that, right? And especially
Yeah,
in
of course, of course.
career that I chose.
Hmm.
But when I heard that and I heard somebody breaking it down, I was like, oh shit. Nope, I definitely have done that a lot.
We've
Like
all done it.
a lot. And it's really, again,
We've
easy.
all done it.
And
It's so easy.
we are programmed to fall into that place. Our minds are programmed to fall into that place. And we have to take ownership of that. And I think I'm very, very grateful. And gratitude, we could have a whole other conversation about the the false toxic shit around gratitude that I started to realize too. But I am foundationally, can say this without that bullshit, grateful that all of this difficult discovery that I've had now, and I haven't lived more of my life without having it.
Right, right. Agreed. And even if it did take 50 plus years, at least somehow along the way, you found it.
For sure.
100%.
So that was our talk on habits with a lot of other extra things.
With a lot of tangents, but as expected.
Let us know where you sit on all of this. If you're listening for the first time, or you're a listener of ours, or if we bring it up on social media, we want to know where you sit on all of this and your take and any of your relevant experiences to it as well.
And also, just thinking about exercising counts.
The more days you think about it, the more likely you'll be actually motivated to go for it. That's true.
Exactly. So like it's also, I mean, I will add, it's hard to switch that mindset, which you already said in the very beginning, because it's like doing is different than thinking about it, but thinking about it is still doing something.
Yeah. Thinking about it is the first step in actually going and doing and taking action.
So thinking about exercising and eating healthy still counts, even if it takes 5 years or something,
yeah,
you know?
For you to be like, I've been thinking about this, I planted the seed, and now finally roots are growing, and I'm going to swap out, the thing that makes me feel terrible the next day for something that helps me feel
for
good.
some fruit.
Yeah. Unless you're allergic, don't do it.
Oh, yeah, then. Exactly.
So, thank you guys for joining us. We always appreciate being able to have these conversations, and I get further in my thought process every time we dive into one of these things. I have a new thought. So maybe you're leaving with a new thought too, or maybe you hated everything we said and this is wasn't your jam.
You know what?
Cool.
Go away then.
Either way, I don't know how I want to wrap any of this in, but even if changing your thought process is the way that you help yourself to be more and you take it one day at a time, don't be afraid to do it, because that's going to be what brings you to living your best life. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Nice. Okay, bye.
Everything in there.
You really did. All right, bye, guys.